with a serious week that needed to be high octane, high intensity, high energy, and it did not disappoint. This is the Tech Jedi, and I got a brand new special guest with me. Talk to him.
The Kung Fu Master Mark Figueroa. Woo!
What? I have a nemesis?
Absolutely. Of course, for those who know me, you might see me as Kung Fu Panda than Kung Fu Master.
No, you know what? That's it. It's stuck.
Skadoosh.
It's sticking, man, from here on out. Kung Fu Panda. That's
Sweet.
good stuff. All right, so we're going to launch right into it. I hear back from all of you guys that you absolutely were thrilled at the Hour and a Half podcast last week. So at the risk of continuing on with that pattern, I'm going to go ahead and shorten it up just a tad this week. We're going to launch into the stats, hit up some plays of the week, give you guys a pulse check on week 2, and then move on to our hot topics of the week to discuss. Game 1 was a Donnybrook. I want you to look that up in your dictionary somewhere and figure out what that word really means, because that's exactly what this game was. Varsity Blues versus my squad, the Green Lantern Corps. It ended on the final play of the half in the last 5.5 minutes. There was a flurry of activity that turned it from a blowout to a comeback win in favor of Varsity Blues. Here is the rundown. Samson Georges, the quarterback, Varsity Blues, was 9 for 16, had 2 touchdowns, and a passing 2-point conversion. He had 2 interceptions thrown for a combined rating of 61.5. A reminder to everybody that 118.8 is the top rating in the PXFL. The NFL's top is a 158.8, but that's because they have yards. We do not have yardage. So our cap is 118.8. So 61.5 was the rating for the day for Samson Georges. He had 3 carries. He had 1 tackle on defense. Webs Pierre had 2 receptions. Solomon Georges had only 1 reception, but he went nutso on the D side, having 2 tackles, 2 pass deflections, and 2 picks. Rene Villamontes with 1 tackle. Jordan Askew with 1 pass deflection, pretty crucial in the end zone, I might add. Jude Lewis had all of the offensive points as a receiver, 3 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Both of them were on his side. He had only 1 tackle but 6 carries, which is classic Jude Lewis. He was a terror on the ground. Claude Lampkin had 1 catch. He was 1 for 1 passing on a gadget, and he had a tackle and an interception caught on defense. He caught Samson Georges' 2-point conversion pass. That is it on the Varsity Blues side. They had 14 total points.
All right, on to Green Lantern Corps. And before I jump into these stats, I just want to introduce our geek portion of this program and just say, the record, that the Marvel comic names, are much more classier and better.
And the crowd said,
than the DC comics. Just want to put that out there. And I'm pretty sure a lot of our viewers will agree with that.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure our viewers are just staring at their screen, but our listeners,
they're looking at something. They're looking at something. Hey, I'm just saying.
They're looking at the Iron Football PXFL logo.
Absolutely.
No, but our loyal listeners all agree unanimously that the Green Lantern Corps, which is a property of DC Comics, a wholly owned subsidiary of Warner Brothers, AOL Time Warner, is far and away the more creative comic company versus Marvel. I think what you're thinking of is the movie arm or the Hollywood section of Marvel, which is superior to DC. But as far as the stories, the creativity, the depth of characters, and the names, such as the Green Lantern Corps, all DC. I want to point out that the Green Lanterns were responsible for the Blackest Night storyline, which sold more comics than any other company in history. And that happened only 2-3 years ago. Thank you, Green Lanterns, for bringing about it was basically DC's zombies. The Black Lantern rings brought back the dead heroes and villains, and that was the entire Green Lantern story arc.
Hey, like I said, anything with zombies works for me.
Good stuff.
All right, let's jump into these stats.
Go see the Avengers movie.
Thanks for the plug. Appreciate that.
No problem.
All right, we have Micah Smith at quarterback. Not one of his better days, not one of his worst, but either way, 7 for 20. 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and if I'm correct, that is a 39.6 passer rating.
You are correct.
Not good. He did have 3 carries, 1 tackle on defense, and also 1 interception. Avon Pitts, he had 1 sack. Moise, 1 reception, 1 tackle. Brad Locke, 0 for 2. as quarterback. And, of course, he did complete those. Unfortunately, it was to the other team. So that is a 0.0. Let's drop the bomb on that one.
That's a Bluto rating, you know.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
Bluto Blutarski.
Absolutely.
0.0. The worst grade point average in Faber history.
If there was a -0, that would be it. However, those zeros are about as round as I am.
Wow.
He did have 2 receptions and 1 TD. David Attaway, he had 3 receptions and he had 4 tackles on defense. And we also had Brandon Pilling, who had 1 reception, however, 5 tackles and 1 deflected pass on defense. Now, Mr. MJ, the team captain, the leader of the core, on defense, 2 tackles, 2 deflections, and a pick 6 to open the game. What do you have to say about that, my friend?
So it ain't say. Did it really happen?
Yes, sir. I saw the video.
Well, I guess, much like Jason Kidd and some of those other, wily veterans that continue to play well past their time. Apparently, I guess I'm still effective. But the hilarious thing was nobody gave me any credit because I played quarterback over in CFFL strictly for the last 2 seasons and no defense. So everyone just kind of got that impression. Oh, I guess he's too slow or he doesn't know how to read a pass or whatever. And I show a little something.
Not too bad for the littlest guy on the team. I'll give you that much.
Boo. At least anytime I'm playing on the field with Jude, I always feel big.
But he does make you feel slower too, though.
Oh, there's no question. Trust me. I was playing O-line against him. Yeah, I felt very slow.
I've played football with Jude for a long time, and that boy can fly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But he was sackless this game.
Yes.
That's
That's a task in itself. I'm quite impressed. I think you might have beaten me out of my spot.
Thank you very. Oh no! You can by all means have it back. But I feel so free to take that spot back. I would love to go back to receiver. Good gracious.
And that's all the stats I have.
That's it. All right. So the game wrapped up a 14-12 victory for Varsity Blues. Like I said, if you watch the game, it was really quite something. 12-0 for 34.5 minutes out of 40. It looked as if it was going to be a shutout and pretty much domination. In the last 5 minutes and 37 seconds, Varsity Blues accounted for all 14 of their points for the go-ahead win. Lots of blunderous errors and some miraculous plays, both by Jude Lewis, on cornerbacks that were twice his height. Really quite something. It was an impressive fight out of Varsity Blues. On to number 2 game of the day. We had the Wolf Pack towards Blessed. And let me tell you, this was probably even a more thrilling game than the first one was. Let's start off with the Wolf Pack statistics, shall we? John Snevely was 14 for 24 touchdowns, 1 interception, a key one, 91.7. He had 1 tackle and 6 carries. Ken Orr had 1 reception. He had 4 tackles as well on the defensive side. Ace Aluska had yet another clutch game at receiver. 3 receptions and a touchdown. A toe tapper in the back of the end zone. Nasty. 2 tackles, 2 pass deflections on defense. Matt Lansing had yet another workmanlike, reliable, tough game. 2 receptions, 1 of those for a touchdown and a tackle. And Javi Lopez. I did it again.
Wrong sport.
I did. Because I only have Javi written down. Javi Lopez is a catcher for, I want to say, the Baltimore Orioles, right?
No, Atlanta Braves.
I'm kidding. I had to
Although he did finish his career with the Baltimore Orioles.
That's why I wanted to throw that. But he's not known for that.
No, of course not.
I'm an O's fan, so I threw that in there but that's like calling Brett Favre like a Jet.
Absolutely.
I mean, come on,
Exactly.
So no, he was a Brave. I'll give him that. But like you said, finished with the O's. Are we still in first as of this recording of this right now?
I believe so. Yes.
The O's are still in first. It has got to be the most.
As they say, it doesn't matter until after the All-Star game.
Of course, you're absolutely right. But generally speaking, by this time, the O's have sunk to the bottom of the ocean.
This is true.
Easily by this time.
Especially in that division when you have the Blue Jays and you have the
absolutely
the
Yanks and now the Rays.
The Rays
have been a monster for the last unbelievable.
And the Red Sox.
Hey, like we say back in my hometown, Baltimore, let's go O's. All right, we got Matt Lansing had a fantastic game as usual. Javi Sola. I'm so very sorry. I'm joking around with him, by the way. Javi Sola, 5 receptions and 2 touchdown catches. He also had a tackle on the D side. The reason that's noteworthy, he wasn't even there week 1. He had a function for the church that he was busy with and had to kind of hit the ground running here in week 2, coming off of a loss. No, I take that back. A win. No, that's not right. Wolfpack won last week. So they had momentum, but he wasn't a part of it, so he had to kind of, find his feet on the team. And man, did he find them. 5 catches, 2 touchdowns. Very impressive day. Justin Huser had 3 receptions, catching nearly everything that came his way. Had no drops. And Jake Snavely, coach of the Wolfpack, 5 tackles. Classic Jake Snavely, who was the year that I discovered him and started really talking him up on the podcast over in the CFFL. He was 3rd in the league in tackles, only behind Sasha Golan, who is like tackle central, and one other fellow I don't remember. It might have been, I don't remember who it was. It wasn't Roby, but another big name. And then Jake Snavely. It's like, this Jake kid can play. And this was like 4 or 5 seasons ago, and ever since then, he's just gotten better and better. And now everyone knows he's a force.
I'm telling you, it's the bandana, dude.
You say this bandana, and I don't think that you're wrong, but I personally believe that it's all the yelling. I think it's the howling.
It could be a combination of both.
It may be.
However, he has shown up to a game with face paint.
I've not seen this.
That was scary.
What?
I honestly, for about a millisecond, I actually kind of tightened up a little bit.
Well, yeah? Did you? Even you?
Yeah,
wow,
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's impressive. Well, like I said, he is a beast on the line, so he scares me with that face paint.
Absolutely. All right, on to Blessed. We have Kevin Blandon had 2 receptions. George Heredia Jr. had 5 receptions, and on defense he had 1 tackle. We had Andy Lyon, 2 receptions. One of them was for a TD, and he had a receiving 2-point conversion, and he had 4 tackles on defense. Zach Mr. Clutch Tanner. I'm going to give him that title this week.
Because
last week he was, the disappearing man.
Yeah.
We won't talk about that. Absolutely. 9 receptions, 2 TDs.
Jeez.
Unbelievable. He also carried a TD, and he had 1 tackle on defense. And last but not least, we have Richard Thomas. This man came out here, made a statement for himself this game. This was his breakout game at quarterback. 18 of 24. 3 TDs, no interceptions, and that is a 116.7 passing rating. I believe that's a record so far.
Well, absolutely, and it's probably going to be one that isn't broken, if at all, for a very long time. You figure it's only, 1.8 points away from a perfect rating.
Very impressive, very impressive. And on defense, he made a statement as well. He had 4 tackles, 2 deflections, and 1 INT. He also had a catching and passing 2-point conversion. Carry for a 2-point conversion.
All right, that's a nasty game. And let me tell you, that was a literal. That was a walk. If there's a walk-off touchdown in football, Zach had it. I know that's a baseball term, but Zach had a walk-off touchdown where it was the time had expired, final play. The score at that time was 25-22. And if he drops it, or if it's incomplete for, not to drop it, if it's an incomplete pass in any way, Wolfpack wins by 3. If he catches it and it's complete in the end zone, Blessed wins by 3. And sure enough, man, he made the grab. Amidst traffic, there were 2 or 3 lime greeners swinging around on his neck and arm and the back of his leg, and he just hauled it in. So I got to give him a lot of credit on that walk-off touchdown.
Absolutely, and you have to give it to Richard Thomas for putting the ball where it needs to be.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Absolutely true. That's right. 'Cause a little higher or a little behind him, and one of those defenders would have either picked it off or knocked it down. It's true.
I think I'm going to go ahead and give him the RG3 nickname.
Oh no,
for you Redskins
we
fans
ain't
out
feeling
there,
that. We
you know?
need no.
He might even play better than RG3. I'm not sure.
Yeah. That's possible. I don't ever give any college players any credit coming into the league until they show me something on the pro field. I've seen too many Gino Torettas and Casey Weldons and Randall Hills. Absolutely. And what's this cat's name? The lineman, Packers lineman, big, incredible bulk they called him, and then he was an incredible bust.
Oh, Tony
Mandarich.
Yes.
Right. And Ryan Leaf and the other.
Jamarcus
Russell, sure. Who was the one redhead boy whose dad rode him all the time? Marinovich.
Todd Marinovich.
I mean, come on. There's just the list goes on and on and on and on with all these college players coming out. It's like, oh, this guy's gonna be fantastic. Come on, man. What do they show us?
We just completed the old man segment of our cast.
Possible. You threw in Jamarcus Russell.
Yes.
So at least that made it. At least everyone recognized one of those names. It's true.
If you don't know who the rest are, look them up.
Randall Hill. All right, so final game of the day. The Lions of Judah took on the woefully undermanned Fellowship. What I mean to say is that they played 7 on 5.5, basically. Essentially, it was 7 on 6. Lions of Judah had 7 players. Fellowship only had 6. But one of Fellowship's players had either pulled or tweaked or strained a calf muscle just prior to the game, warming up, and he was hobbling. And so they put him on the line, and he did the best he could to protect the quarterback. But the opening play was a sack, and it was like that for the rest of the game. The poor guy could hardly stand. In the second half, he had basically all he could take pain-wise. His threshold was worn out, and he had to actually come off the field. So they finished the game 7-on-5. So keep all of that in mind as we read through all of these stats, because it was pretty ugly to see a team kicking around an empty tin can and crowing about it. That was a little bit weird. But Rudy Dart, well, let's start with the quarterback. Ben Fair did have a strong day. I will say, obviously it was undermanned, but he was still 6 for 7, 2 touchdowns, no picks, for 118.7 rating. The only reason that he doesn't qualify for quarterback of the week or for a record is because we have a rule in the league that you have to have 10 minimum attempts at quarterback in order to qualify for a player superlative or a record. And while I'm on the topic, I guess, for receivers, it's a minimum of 2 catches a game or 10 catches in a season in order to qualify for a record as well. But nevertheless, 6 for 7, 2 touchdowns, no picks, great day. He had 1 carry at quarterback. Marcus Kelly had 3 catches, 2 touchdowns on and 4 carries as well. They started running the ball in the second half a lot, and he got the bulk of the carries. But Marcus Kelly also had 2 interception catches on the defensive side. Rudy Darden, the coach, 2 receptions, 1 touchdown, and a sack.
You're the beard.
Fear that thing, man. Fear that thing. Mark Bembry, did you tell me you saw the SportsCenter thing with the whistle that fell out of the refs? Harden had hit the ground, and the whistle fell out of the ref's mouth, but the angle that the camera had it passed right by his beard. And Steve Kerr was like, was that a small bird that just flew out of Harden's beard? And the guys working with said, what, did you just say small? What are you talking about? That was the official's whistle. Oh, I could have sworn. He's like, I guarantee there's a nest somewhere in there. You didn't catch that on Sports?
No, I missed that.
Oh, my gosh. It was hilarious, man. Good stuff. So now because of that, I'm looking for all manner of different creatures to come, crawling out or flying out of that beard. But he had a sack on the day, 2 receptions, 1 touchdown. Quite impressive. Mark Bembry had 1 catch, 2 interceptions, one of which was a run back that hit pay dirt. Maurice Drayton had 3 deflections on the defensive side. He had a carry on the offensive side. Robert Moore had 2 tackles, 2 carries, and Jonathan Velasquez had 1 catch, 2 tackles, 2 carries. Final offensive score, 25 points for Lions of Judah.
Do you think if Rudy dyes his beard white, we can call him Pai Mei from Kill Bill?
Oh, wow. You know what? We might have to see if we can talk him into that.
That's a challenge there, Rudy.
Absolutely.
Pai Mei, come on. All right, on to Fellowship. We have Brad Combs at quarterback. He was 5 of 12, 1 TD, 2 picks. That is a 37.5 passer rating. Not cool. However, we'll leave it alone. On defense, he had 4 tackles, and let's see, he also had 1 reception and 1 carry on offense. There we go. Esteban Vasquez, he had 2 tackles and 1 deflection on defense. Ian McEwen, 1 tackle. Enrique Rios, 4 tackles on defense. And then Devin Miles, 5 receptions, 1 TD, and 3 tackles on defense.
Solid. Well, they did the best they could. I will say that. In fact, at the end of the game, they were actually even calling timeouts, even though they were down 25-6 in an attempt to get the ball back to, just to keep the game intense and have a little bit of fight in them. I thought that was fantastic.
Hey, it shows a lot of heart and how much these guys love playing the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. They could easily just kind of just dropped the flags, walked off, and instead they're like, no, man, want the ball back, see what we can do. I was impressed. That was they showed a lot of heart. They really did. That is the generalized statisticianing of the for the day. I intentionally messed that word up. I was trying to find something funny. I was like, statistician. No way to make the word statistics funny.
Absolutely.
But I tell you what we can do. What we can do is tell you the players of the week.
Skadoosh.
Let's start off with the QB of the week, shall we? The QB of the week had quite the day. You've got all the stats over there. He goes by the name of Richard Thomas for Blessed.
Richard RG3 Thomas.
Boo.
Come on, man.
No, sir.
Once again, 18 of 24. 3 TDs, 116.7 passer rating. Unbelievable.
He does not even remotely qualify to be in the level of greatness of the Washington Redskins. We might be absolutely abysmal right now and just a joke on the field now, but we have history, baby. We have 3 Super Bowl trophies, and Joe Gibbs is a legend in the industry.
Well, now that you brought that up, why
boy.
are you a Redskins fan instead of a Ravens fan? They're much better.
I was born in D.C.
Okay, just checking. But you're an Orioles fan.
Because at that time there was no baseball team.
Okay.
Now there's Nats, but as I was growing up as a D.C. Ute, we had no Nats, so I was an O's fan, and there was no Ravens, so I was a Skins fan. Later on, see it's the whole modern era to old generation, whatever. Those 2 teams didn't exist.
Absolutely.
In fact, there was the Washington Bullets. There was no Washington Wizards. It's the Washington Bullets basketball
with the ugliest
team.
uniforms ever.
Nasty.
It was disgusting.
Absolutely nasty.
Disgusting. And however, also that was our quarterback of the week.
That was.
We're going to our wide receiver of the week, correct?
That we are.
All right. Once again, Zach, Mr. Clutch Tanner. He's only borrowing that name for 1 week. He had 9 receptions and 2 TDs.
He's renting that nickname, right?
Yes, absolutely. And however, that's one of the second TD was at the buzzer. Beautiful catch.
Yep.
He was surrounded. He was actually draped by players.
It's true. You saw the clip.
Absolutely.
I was
quite impressed.
Toe drag on the sideline, the whole deal.
Reminded me back in the day when I could actually run.
Nice. Absolutely. I would love to see some footage of that. If you've got any...
They're in black and white. I might have to get them transferred over into Technicolor. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
it's
I got
scary,
you.
But,
well, let me tell you, the one thing I do want to point out about Zach's touchdown at the end there, did you notice, because you saw the clip, did you notice how he intentionally orchestrated it so that he's running directly at the camera?
Yes.
For that final catch? You think that was accidental?
If he's not magnetically drawn to the ball, it's the camera. Whichever one has the stronger power. The Force, if you will.
I don't know. Force is stronger with the Tech Jedi than the non-Padawan. But I will say this, that the Defensive Player of the Week was a difficult one to try to come to grips with. We had to wrangle really only a small handful of defensive days. There weren't a lot that popped out, but there were a few. I'd say there were 3. One of them fell away on the strength of one of these players who is about to be named co-Defensive Player of the Week having 2 picks as opposed to 1, and the other having 1 but running it back for a touchdown. So lay it on us. Who were the co-Defensive Players of the Week?
One of the co-Defensive Players of the Week was yourself.
What?
MJ Brick. Had
this can't be.
2 tackles, 2 deflections, 1 pick 6.
Wow.
1 pick 6.
Wouldn't have expected before the game, but yes, that was.
And might I add, that was a one-handed pick 6.
Thank you. I'm glad you added that because I wasn't going to, but I was kind of hoping you would.
Yeah, I figured I'd just kind of
Yeah, right.
Put that up there and
absolutely. Yeah, no, it was. I just reached out there and boom, magnetic hands. What can you say? But the other one, the other co-defense player of the week was the player that was opposite me, Solomon Georges. He had a crazy good day. Check out this stat line. 2 tackles, 2 pass deflections. Sound familiar? Mm-hmm. But he had 2 picks. So what prompted the 2 of us to go with the co-defensive player was that we basically canceled each other out. Both had 2 tackles, both had 2 deflections, but one had 2 picks, neither for a score. The other had 1 pick, but 1 for a score. So that kind of balanced out, and that created a 2-way tie.
I thought we gave it to Samson because he's got bigger arms than anybody in the
Solomon.
league. Or Solomon, excuse me. And he has bigger arms than anybody in the league, and we didn't want to get hit.
I don't know. Well, yeah. I was noticing that in the play that Micah Smith intercepted in the end zone, it bounced off of his rather voluminous guns.
Yes.
And had it not, bounced off of the granite bicep, that may not have resulted in an interception, and it may have been a touchdown for Varsity Blues. It might have won actually by more. So
that is possible.
Yeah, he needs to deflate. He needs to drop down the.
For all you old school Buck fans, that's the Michael Pittman syndrome.
Yeah, right. It's true.
He couldn't hold on to the ball because his arms were too big.
Or if you were a Florida Tusker fan of the UFL. Michael Pittman played for them too.
We're digging deep.
Right here in the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, we're digging deep.
20 or 30 people in the stands each week.
Yeah.
But that's that on that. Player of the week. Player of the week.
Skadoosh.
It was pretty cut and dry. Not only did he have a fantastic day on the offensive side at quarterback, but he also had he was the third name being bandied about for defensive player of the week. But the lack of a scoring interception and the fact that he only had 1 and not 2 gave it to the other fellas. But it was indeed Richard Thomas. Read off that stat line.
4 tackles, 2 deflections, and 1 pick.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Gotta give it to him.
So that's it. But I don't care who you are. 2 tackles does not equal 1 interception. So the fact that he had 2 more tackles than we did, but 1 fewer pick, it's not, it's really 2 tackles. I mean, what's your opinion? 2 tackles equals 1 interception? No? Yes?
No, I think you have to double up.
Sacks, maybe.
Yeah.
I'll go with 2 sacks equaling a pick.
Yeah.
But not 2 regular tackles.
Yeah.
But no, that's the overall, and we already read his offensive stat line, which was pretty crazy. In fact, 2 or 3 times.
Yes.
So congratulations to Richard, Zach, Solomon, this other guy that
Some guy named MJ.
Yeah, coaches the Tech Jedi, and Richard a second time for your Players of the Week. Real quick pulse check coming out of Week 2. This is what we've got going on. A single lone undefeated team, Varsity Blues. They are 2-0. One winless team, again, not entirely their fault, at least not the ones that showed up. They had only 6, later 5 players at the end of the game, but they are 0-2. Fellowship is. Everyone else is 1-1. That would be Wolfpack, that would be Green Lantern Corps, that would be Blessed, and that would be the Lions of Judah. So everybody's sitting at 1-1, which makes this next week particularly high... drama, I guess you'd call it? I mean, could you call it dramatic?
High velocity, high octane,
Boom.
Whatever you want to call it. It's
all
just
going
to be amazing.
Because a couple of those teams are playing each other. So there will be some mandatory 1 and 2 teams and some mandatory 2 and 1 teams, because I think all of the 1 and 1 teams are playing one another. In fact, I know that they are. So that'll be something to look forward to. We had a couple rules come into question during the week. One of them, just run through them right quick, because this is something everybody needs to know. When a kickoff, not a punt, when a kickoff goes out of bounds, it will be a penalty, as in the NFL, but because we don't have a 100-yard field with 50 being the midfield and having a 40-yard line, so to speak, we are going to spot an out-of-bounds kickoff at midfield, because if you were to prorate the yards from the 40, which is where it comes back in the NFL, to our league, that would be roughly the 30, but there is no 30. The lines are marked off 10, 20, 40, 20, 10.
Right.
So that being the case, we are going to... You can walk off yards and penalties for infractions during play, like a holding, like a clipping. But for a spot the ball foul, that has to be on some line somewhere, whether it's the 10 or 20 or the 40. So any kickoff that goes out of bounds, it will be spotted at midfield. When that happened to us, Jude Lewis kicked the final kickoff out of bounds after their first touchdowns to us, and we didn't know the rules, so we spotted it at 20. So we actually got docked 20 yards. Whether or not that would have made a difference, who knows? But that's something to look forward to going on into the future. So lesson to all of y'all, please do not kick your kickoffs out of bounds, because you will suffer the consequences. Another rule, you can instant replay challenge absolutely anything, whether it's a call or a non-call. Here's why, the philosophy on this, because a few people, I'm only explaining this because after the game, a few people came over and asked me, why is it this way, and we went into a big philosophical debate. So this is the reason why. There are 2 reasons. One, in the NFL, they have a battery of the most well-paid, well-trained, and well-experienced referees in the world, and there are going to be plays that don't need to be reviewed or aren't reviewed because, generally speaking, there are only going to be a certain portion of plays that they feel are able or legal or necessary to be reviewed. We don't have that. We have a part-time referee and 2 volunteers. So there will be far more mistakes made. There will be plays that they may not quite have memorized the entire rule book and miss, but someone else does, and on the challenge, that gives them a chance to go ahead and look it up or watch the video again. But the second reason is that the whole idea behind an instant replay challenge is to correct a mistake, is to fix an error, not to play bureaucracy and red tape on what things are allowed and what things aren't allowed, and whether it was a judgment call or whether it was a... No, we're not going to... That's going to slow the game down. It's going to be too much to have to think about and remember and come up with all the different ways and means on what things are and aren't. Everything is eligible. If you think they missed a holding call, or you think that there's a block in the back, or you think that someone stepped out of bounds and then ran back in bounds and was the first to touch the ball, whatever it is that is or is not called, your coach may throw the challenge flag. The question came up, well, why won't people just abuse that? Because you only get 1.5. If you want to blow it on something silly, like a tripping away from the play, 30 yards away from the play, fine, go ahead. You only get one per half. So that's the reasoning behind that.
Now, if they were to lose the challenge, do they lose a timeout?
They do lose a timeout.
Okay.
They do, and that's another incentive to not just frivolously call a challenge just because. You're going to lose your timeout. You only get 2 timeouts a half. So if you lose one of those 2 timeouts and you need it in the end and you're trying to stop the clock on a drive, that means you only got 1 left. Now, attendant to that rule, if your team does not have a timeout to use or to burn, you can't even make a challenge. In other words, you have to have a timeout to lose in order to make the challenge. So there are plenty of rules in place to prevent the game being slowed down, plenty of rules in place to make sure people don't abuse the challenge, that we don't need to add another layer of restrictions on to say that only some things can be challenged and other things can't. It would drive you nuts if you were that team that the opponent just scored a game-winning touchdown on, but there was a non-call, and I had a silly rule in place where that wasn't allowed to be challenged and you lost because they didn't call it. You would not be pleased. So that's the reasoning behind it. And then the final rule that came up that we are going... This is not a new rule, actually. This is just a spotlighting a rule that's already out there. You are not allowed as a ball carrier or defender to truck anybody or tank anybody, I call it. In other words, to roll over someone. You have to run around an opposing player. The only time that you can initiate contact is if you're blocking. And even if you're blocking, there has to be a ball carrier in the vicinity, not you, or you're an offensive lineman. Other than that, you have to run around the play. I saw 2 things happening on both weeks, but particularly this past Sunday that I wanted to address. The ball carrier kind of tucking the ball into their gut, into their breadbasket, and then just tanking everybody in front of them, just mowing people down. Cannot do that. If someone is, think of it like basket. If there's a question in your mind whether you're allowed to run through or over someone, think like basketball. If someone has positioning and is in front of you, you are not allowed to offensively foul them, basically. You've got to go around them. The second thing that I saw happening a lot was that defensive players were basically charging through groups of people, or kind of like a scrum. There were 1 or 2 blockers and there were bodies in the way, and a defensive player like a safety was kind of basically mauling through them, just sort of like just ripping through them to get to the ball carrier. You can't do that. You've got to go around the body. You've got to go around the pile. You can't just truck your way through.
None of us are getting paid, guys. We want to prevent injuries as much as possible as well. So just
it.
keep that in mind. I know for some of us who've played football for many years, whether it's flag or tackle, it's kind of natural instinct to drop that shoulder, and I understand that. But again, we have to realize, we're not out there to hurt anybody, and we're definitely not getting paid. So just go out there and have fun and keep doing what you're doing.
Good call, man. Good call. You got it right. The other thing is the defensive player is at a disadvantage. If the offensive guy is allowed to initiate contact, but the D player only can pull your flag and can't do anything else, but the O guy's just raising the knees and trucking, that's a disadvantage. I mean, the offense has all the advantage. You'll have arena league game scores of 60 to 50 scores because he can't tackle the guy. He's just trucking everybody.
Hey, go ahead and give Kung Fu Panda the ball, and we'll just run it all day, man.
Absolutely. Good call, actually.
Skadoosh.
Yeah, that's right. So, a la the fridge in Super Bowl, whatever that was in '85.
Yeah.
Did you actually see that game?
Yes. Wow. I was already born.
Look at that. Were you okay?
Yes,
all right.
I
was just curious whether or not, and you knew what you were watching, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right. That's impressive.
Sweetness, man. The juice.
Stupid Bears.
Bears.
That was a heck of a game, man. That was really quite something. But I'm only bringing that up because you're a Chicago fan.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's that on the pulse check. Real quick, we got something we call the armchair quarterback. This is where we're able to talk philosophically about things after the fact, as if we know something. Like if we went into the game with this amount of knowledge that that we would have been able to maybe change something. One of the things that I really enjoyed about Sunday was that there was parity and there was equal contests faster than I expected there to be. Week 2, we already had 2 last-minute, last-play games that gave teams come from behind victories, and I wouldn't have expected that in only week 2. You got to figure 3 of the coaches in this league have been in a league that used these types of rules with the blocking and the draft and all that before, but 3 had not. So I was kind of expecting for the first 2-3 weeks, I guess I call them the veteran coaches, to already sort of have their identity set and already know who they had and how to run the system, whereas the 3 new coaches would have to kind of get their feet under. Man, week 2, we already had a 14-12 game, last play of the game. Well, second to last play. The last play of the game was a Hail Mary bomb interception. And the second game of the day was 28-25 on a walk-off touchdown.
In comparison to the first week where you had a couple games that were Well, I hate to use the word blowout, but that's what they were.
They were. Let's call it like it is. I mean, as journalists, it doesn't make any sense to sugarcoat it and call it like it is. I want to repeat, for those that are listening for the first time this week and didn't listen to last week's podcast, I want to repeat something that I really stressed and made a point to bring up last week. Nothing that's ever said about a person's play or performance on the field or a team's performance or a team's record or any of those things is meant to do anything other than simply report what is going on in the league. This is not an indictment on your ability to play the game. This does not make you an evil person. This does not make you a less of a man. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. If, for example, we pointed out that Zach Tanner had a blowout week this week, but last week was invisible. It's true. Those are just statements of fact. There's nothing against Zach Tanner personally. I actually kind of like the guy. But we're just reporting the facts. And if we're going to do a podcast, we need to do it so that we're not always kind of tiptoeing around things and not stating things as they are for fear of offending anyone. Because then there's really nothing to listen to. There's no point to tune in unless you're getting some good, relatively hard-hitting facts based on what really happened in the league. Exactly. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That is what they were. It was a 30-6 game. Green Lantern Corps over Lions of Judah, and there was a 28-6 game. Wolfpack over Fellowship, I believe. Does that sound right? Let's see. Yes, that does. Because the other games were Blessed, who played the Varsity Blues, and that was also a rough game. So, yeah, all three of them were really, or rather, no, you know what? Varsity Blues, I think, was 28-6. Wolfpack was 25 to. Boy, I'm gonna have to look that up. I thought I knew all this stuff, but yeah, I know I'm slipping, aren't I?
Tech Jedi is getting a little old.
Why are you shaking your head at me?
Slipping, man, slipping. Use the Force.
I thought the Force was strong with me. So are you saying my memory's slipping? Like, what do you mean, like senility?
You're
talking about dementia? What are you doing to me right here on air? This is terrible, man. You're supposed to be backing me up. We got to keep the myth alive that I actually know what I'm doing.
You just said, we have to keep it real and report the truth.
Oh,
so, there
wow.
we go.
Using my own words against me.
Absolutely. That's what Kung Fu Master does.
So you told me I met my match.
Exactly. Hey, you learn well, young grasshopper.
Yes, I guess so. So that was good stuff. It's good to see that much parity. What other did anything pop out at you in looking at the stats and seeing some of the clips of the games and any of that stuff?
I'm looking at these stats. I've seen that a lot. It seems that a lot of these players, individual players, are starting to find their niche, if you will, of where they should be playing.
Sure.
Kind of like piggybacking what you were saying.
Right.
Like Andy Lyon. For week one, he was quarterback.
Right.
This week, from what I understand, he handed the ball over to Richard Thomas.
That's right.
And we all see the result. Richard Thomas had a breakout game. Player of the week, quarterback of the week. And it took a lot for Andy to take himself out of the equation and say, you know what, I'm going to do what's best for the team. I'm going to give you the ball, and I'm going to go out and catch it. Exactly. And Andy, that's kudos to you, man, because that's what we're all about here. So, seeing that and overall, like you were mentioning, the how quickly these teams are starting to gel from week one to week two. I think it's going to come down to the wire when it comes to playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I guarantee that there's going to be a last week contest for some final spots. No doubt about it. There'll probably be one or two that have a clinch. But I guarantee that the last, if not the last two spots, at least the final spot, the fourth spot to get into the playoffs, will be contested all the way up until that last week. There's almost no doubt in my mind. And just as a quick little sidebar to that, Andy Lyon as receiver had a touchdown and a 2-point conversion.
Absolutely.
In a win where his team only won by 3.
Wow.
So
there you go.
So that's, like you said, that everything fell into place for those guys, and a lot of it had to do with folks. Partially, it has something to do with humility, but a lot of it just has to do with understanding that the team is bigger than the self.
Absolutely.
Being willing to go ahead and move to slide to another position, even if you wanted to play something else, if it improves the play of the team, that ultimately is the right decision. I mean, clearly, it's the most effective decision for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's good stuff. I thought also that, and this is pretty much kind of the last topic. I'm surprised and impressed to see how quickly the players are adjusting to the various elements and features of the league, like instant replay challenges, like blocking, like a kickoff. There are a lot of elements to this. To one spin per carry per play, things that you don't see in other leagues. there isn't quite as long of a ramp-up period where people have to get used. The one thing I am seeing is that there's still quarterbacks forgetting to put the ball on the ground.
Yeah,
at the very beginning,
that's
on the
an
snap.
adjustment. Yes, that's an adjustment. However, it's something as well as a bigger field and an extra person.
Yeah,
a lot of these
absolutely.
leagues, there's 6-on-6 to where this one is 7-on-7. So that makes a huge difference, especially for you running quarterbacks, Mr. Thomas and Mr. Georges.
Right, it's true. Yeah, there's some. I've seen a few that are 7-on-7, but I think that even those fields were a little bit smaller than the one that we're playing on. So yeah, but the adjustments that everybody's making is really impressive. I think that the blocking specifically, I didn't know what to expect with that. I mean, we came from a league where they were going in this past season, the one that your team just won, was the 8th season that they had been around. So there's plenty of time, and with a lot of regulars and a lot of returning players. So by that time, everybody's really comfortable and accommodated to how things run. But I wasn't there for that league's opening season, so I don't know how everybody dealt with the blocking and the semi-contact and all that stuff. But the guys here are really falling into the feel of it and the flow of it pretty quickly and pretty easily. It's good stuff. The games are so much fun to watch.
Absolutely. And in the other league, playing lineman for 3 years, that was an adjustment for me. Obviously, it's something I have no problem doing. But coming to this league, the rule was a little different. Mm-hmm. We couldn't have full arm extension to where the previous league I was in, you could.
Right.
So that was an adjustment I had to make for myself. So not that it was a huge adjustment, but it is something that you have to keep in mind that, things change per league, per, whatever the case may be. So, if you can make those adjustments and the team as a whole can make those adjustments, then, who knows how far your team can go.
You got it. Good call. It's good stuff. I want to correct myself any chance that I get on the rare occasions that I make mistakes. But
I need to go see if the sky is falling.
Right? It's true. I'm really hoping that nobody's paying attention to. I'm gonna Jedi mind trick everyone to forget that I made this error. But the scores from week 1 were Wolfpack Fellowship 22-8, the Core over Blessed 30-6, and Varsity Blues over Lions of Judah 28-6. So the reason I'm bringing that up is not to rub it in his face. The point is that I'm contrasting those one-sided wins to this week's scores. Blessed over Wolfpack 28-25, Lions of Judah over Fellowship 25-6. True, but it was 7-on-5, and even that was a closer game than Varsity Blues over Lions of Judah or the Core over Blessed. So even with fewer people, it was only a 19-point game. And, hang on a sec. 24 points, 19. That was a closer game than some of the others. And Varsity Blues over the Core 14-12. So look at the vast turnaround.
Huge
quickly
turnaround.
In 1 week. And not just week to week, but from week 1 to week 2. I mean, you can watch the NFL and not see an offense jive until maybe week 3 or 4.
Absolutely.
They get a new guy. Oakland picked up Carson Palmer. Or, I'm sorry, LA. Yeah, Oakland picked up Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer, and I don't know if that ever panned out.
No.
Certainly not in the first couple weeks.
I don't think he had a good game until like the 3rd or 4th week.
Yes.
And that's pushing it.
Absolutely. So good on you, everybody. Good stuff, man.
Kudos to the team captains for making those adjustments.
Yeah, without a doubt. A lot of that has to do with leadership, absolutely, and a lot of it has to do with the players themselves really falling in. So that's good stuff. Hey, I really have been looking forward to this actually for 2 weeks now because I mentioned it in last week's podcast, but didn't actually follow through with it at all because it ran on and it was like an hour and a half podcast. But this week we have more than enough time for the Jedi Mind Trick.
Oh boy, here we go.
Absolutely. This is where you and I are going to use our powers of the Force and our Jedi powers to, if you don't know the Star Wars mythos, first of all, I feel bad for you because if you're an American, you need to have seen Star Wars. But if you haven't, the Jedi Mind Trick is basically where the Jedi are able to use the power of suggestion to get a person to say, think, or do what it is they want them to say, think, or do. So we're going to use our powers of Jedi Force suggestion to hope that you see a certain topic in the way that we see it.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Yes, sir. I am a Jedi. I don't know if my father was before me, but I know that I am. And according to the guy that did the Min-Max voiceover last week, the Force is strong with this one. So here is what I've got going on for my Jedi Mind Trick. This is for all of the league. No one person or one team in particular. This is for everybody. No matter what the statistics, no matter what the numbers, no matter what the score, no matter the momentum of the game, absolutely never, ever, ever allow yourself to quit or give up. Just don't do it, for Pete's sake. the whole reason that America loves a comeback victory, and we're always rooting for the underdogs, because we love to see somebody where the odds are stacked against make good. It's the reason everybody went and saw Cinderella Man. It's the reason everybody still to this day loves the Rocky series. We just love to see a comeback victory or somebody overcoming over adversity and elements that are working strongly against them. And I still see folks hanging their heads, dropping their heads, shuffling their feet, having that look about them that it's hopeless. And you can't win a game if you're about. That basically means that you always have to be leading in order for you to be playing your best, if you've got that kind of mindset. I would very much love to be able to mind trick everybody to fight to the final whistle of every game, and even if you're ahead by a lot, to have the presence of mind to keep your level of play up. But by all means, man, if you're behind, just fight on. Show some gumption, show some guts, show the heart and fire that you've got, and the coach has expectations of you with, and just lay it out there, man. Lay absolutely everything out on the line. That's my Jedi mind trick for this week.
For myself, I'm going to use the Kung Fu Master mind trick. Gotta love it. Gotta love that.
Dude,
gotta love that.
It's the snap smack at the end that makes it hilarious, man.
My Kung Fu Panda mind trick is, I want to see, and I challenge everyone to do this, is a little bit more sportsmanship. I understand, as I quote Herm Edwards, we play to win the game. We play to win the game. Nobody plans to lose. You play to win the game. With that being said, there does have to be a winner. There does have to be a loser. However, we must remember what this league is all about. It is SWAP, sports with a purpose. We're all brothers in Christ. We need to treat each other that way, because you know what? When everything's said and done, our testimony outshines everything, whether it's a win, championship, playoff win, whatever the case may be. So, no bullying. I'm not going to mention a specific team, but, when you have a team that's short players, you know what? Why don't you bench some players to make it a little bit more even? Make the game more exciting for the other team as well, who is shorthanded, and just go out there and have fun. Like I said, some of us, we've been playing football together forever. I've known each other for a few years and seen each other play. We'll joke around before the game, we'll joke around after the game, and during the game, we may not be friends during that time. But when that whistle goes from beginning to end, and when that last whistle goes off, we're still brothers, and we still have to reflect that with everyone. So that's my challenge to everybody.
Good stuff, man. I respect that. And I know that some of you immediately are thinking, "Come on, man. We're not gonna run the risk of losing a game or losing the lead." Nobody's saying that. The game in particular that you mentioned was in hand. It was a 19-point lead already, late in the game. In the SWAP basketball season, just prior to the beginning of this football season here, I think it ended April. My basketball team, in the first round of the playoffs, played a team that only came with 5 guys. One of the guys fouled out. They had no subs. It was 5-on-4. We were ahead by 17, 18 points. And I went ahead and told one of my guys that they needed to sit. We were going to play 4-on-4. Of course, they did. They had the same reaction that I'm sure a lot of listeners right now have. Come on, man, what's the matter with you, man? We got to go for the win, man. That's on them. That's on them. That's not our problem. But it comes, like you said, it comes down to some level of decency.
Absolutely.
And I completely agree with you, man. Now, had the game gotten close again, if they had gotten even within maybe 8 or 10, you better believe I was going to bring my 5th guy back out. I mean, I'm not going to jeopardize. No one's suggesting you jeopardize the success of your team. What all we're saying is, show a little. If it's a 19-point lead, just show a little bit of, dignity.
Show some love, man.
That's it. Show some love, man. That's it. Now, if they get close again, 12, put it back out there and lay it on them. But hey, I'm going to give Coach Rudy the benefit of the doubt, because I know his heart. I got to be honest with you. I did a podcast with him. I've talked with him at length on a couple of occasions. We've had coaches meetings. He even volunteers at Discovery Church here that the SWAPs works out of, and he's got a heart for people. He really does. And even though he's a competitor and an athlete, I know that after the fact, maybe on reflecting on it right now, he might be like, yeah, you know what, maybe that if he had to do it over again, I'm just saying, I'd give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he would. In his defense, they did stop throwing the ball everywhere, and they did run the rest of the game. But, they kept all their guys out there, and some of his players were still, kind of cracking the jokes and flapping the gums a little bit. And we all live and learn.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Absolutely.
Hey, Rudy, nobody's coming down on you, man. Nobody's
Absolutely
coming down.
not.
You guys earned that win. You guys are 1-1, and it's legit. You guys did what you needed to do. You handled your business. It's all just a learning experience. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these things are just first time things we got to deal with, and we'll all grow and move on. So, hey, with that, man, we are ready for the wrap up. You see the time up there, Kung Fu Panda. What do we got?
Absolutely,
man. It is. We are under an hour. In fact, we're just under 50 minutes, and we are on the wrap up now. So I don't want to hear any crying, any moaning, any belly aching from any of you ladies out there about it was so long last week to listen to.
If you want your name mentioned, you better listen.
Word. All right, so here we go. We're going to wrap this thing up. Next week's games, we have Wolfpack versus the Green Lantern Corps. I think that we're going to go ahead and do predictions. First, I was going to say let's not do predictions. Let's do it. What do you think?
Why not?
You want to? All right.
Absolutely.
I predict the Corps will demolish the Wolfpack. What do you think?
I have to agree.
Excellent.
I have a story with that. Can I share it?
Absolutely. By all means. What story have you about what Wolfpack did or didn't do to you?
All right. Well, when I signed into this league, I was linked with another individual named Kevin Young. Those of you know him, you know how big he is. He's much bigger than I am.
He's a large individual.
Absolutely. Now, Kevin and I have been playing football together for going on just over 10 years. So it's just another example of how sports can bring people together. So we've been playing football together ever since. So we were linked in, and we were traded on draft day.
Oh.
The Wolfpack actually drafted us.
The humanity.
And then traded us away.
Jeez.
That's never happened to me.
Ever.
No
Ever. Kidding.
Never been traded.
In any of the seasons you played, huh?
I find that actually quite insulting. I took it personal. Yes, I did. So I have a chip on my shoulder, and I can speak for Kevin. He has a chip on his shoulder. So Wolfpack, we're coming for you, and we're coming hard. So I hope you guys are ready.
It is an insult. They challenged your manhood, called you names.
Absolutely.
That's from a...
Thought we were brothers, man.
From a movie. Yeah, I know, man. I don't know what to say about that. It's really crazy. But, so, not only that, but there was one other... There's one other storyline. I thought there was another storyline about this, wasn't there? No, I guess not. But this is definitely going to be for some pretty serious bragging rights. It'll bump one team up to 2-1 and bump another team down to 1-2. And in that trade, man, we need to see whether that was the right thing to do or not, right?
And the thing is that both these teams are coming off a loss.
It's true.
So this game's important.
So this will be a turnaround for somebody, or it'll bury the other, possibly.
Well, I don't plan on pushing daisies anytime soon.
Good stuff. Good call. All right, so we both agree. The Corps in a blowout. Blessed versus Lions of Judah. I'm going to go with, well, I'll tell you what, and here's the thing about predicting in leagues like this. It's almost impossible for you to get all of your players present at every game. So it's a little difficult to make predictions. But I will say that if all things are equal and both sides have either the majority or all of their rosters there, that Blessed wins by a nose.
I have to agree with you on that one. Especially if Mr. Thomas plays the way he did last week.
Yeah.
If he can keep that going, and if Zach can keep it going and not disappear this week, I would have to say this will be a squeaker.
Here's something a little storyline with this game. Zach Tanner brought in a fellow by the name of Marcus Kelly, who they were hoping, and I have to give Zach a lot of credit with this. He didn't give me any grief about this. He didn't really push it or make a big issue, but they were hoping that they would be able to play in the same team. They were hoping that Marcus Kelly would be able to get on to Blessed along with Zach, but the numbers didn't play out right. There were teams. Some teams had 11, other teams had 10, and what's it called? Lions of Judah actually had they only had a 10, and they had an injury that had one of their players basically looking like he's not going to play at all for the season. So they were down to 9, really. So they had to pick up the extra player. Marcus went to that side, but now they're going to play against one another. We got Zach versus Marcus Kelly. So I'm curious to see which one is going to show out, because both of them have got a lot of talent. Both had big games last week, and Marcus got on the top 10. I think he was number 4 or 5 last week, and I'm sure by now, by the time you're listening to this, it's a better than average chance that the 10 Beast plays are probably also posted, in which case you'll see where Zach ranks. But I think this is going to be a really, really tight game. Again, if both teams have their rosters, it's going to be a tight game. And then that leaves us with Fellowship versus Varsity Blues.
And this is actually not so much a tough one, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go with Varsity Blues on this one.
Going on a limb, I see.
Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you why. Only because it's not that Fellowship is not capable of winning this game.
Right.
I'm actually picking Varsity Blues to help them motivate. But they have been hit already with the injury bug.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I can't believe that someone's hurt in week 2 already.
Absolutely.
And really, in listening and around the horn, there are several players playing hurt last week in week 2, and that really surprised me. We had Micah and Moise both had swollen ankles. I was surprised to see that. But no, I got to tell you, Fellowship, man, I wish to heaven I could remember his name. But the fellow that had a bad calf, I mean, he was noticeably hobbled.
Wow.
I don't just mean limping. I mean, he was hobbled.
And he was still out there playing?
And he was out there. And he's playing line. Like, he was having to dig in.
Kudos.
You know, and having to really dig in and find his base and push back against the D lineman. He just couldn't finish the game. So, but I'm going also with the Blues. I think that Fellowship drafted to be a unit. And I think that there are some questions they still need to answer and some holes that still need filling as far as the roster and who's playing what and where.
Absolutely.
So I just think that they're going to find everybody's fit in place. I just think that they have a little bit more distance to make up and distance to travel than some of these other teams that were able to quickly just point out, all right, well, you're our quarterback. Boom, you're our receiver.
Right.
There's a little bit more to do for Fellowship to come together, but they will.
I'm sure they will.
But they will.
You know, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them this week because of that injured player, because we don't know if he's playing or not.
Right, exactly.
It's one of those things where if he keeps playing, does he make it worse? Whatever the case may be, so they'll just have to make those necessary adjustments. You never know. Could be an upset in the making as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I got to tell you that the one thing that I will give, that I will hang the gold star on Fellowship over any of the other teams I've seen is the guts label. Those dudes have some heart, man.
Absolutely.
I'm talking whether it's diving for a ball that is clearly out of their reach, or playing on an injured leg, or calling timeout just so they can try to get the ball back down 7 players to 5 and 25-6 in the score. They got heart, man.
Passion for the game,
and that goes a long way to upset victories, man.
You can't teach that.
This would be that David and Goliath game.
Yes,
you know what I mean. And I for one, I would love to see it just because I really love the underdog. I've got friends on the Varsity Blues side, so I'm not rooting against you. But man, I got to be honest with you, man. For 1 week, I'm a Fellowship fan.
I have to agree.
Really
I have to agree. You know,
I really am.
Varsity Blues, they have some players I've been playing ball with for over 7 years now, and you know what? They're like brothers to me. But they cannot go undefeated. So yes, I'm picking against them.
And who better, man? Who better than the Fellowship to get their first win over? That'd be great. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. Just like I said, we are still under an hour. So this is the Express Streamlined Diet Right version. This is
what are you trying to say?
We are sweetened by sucralose. My rather rotund podcaster to my right, Kung Fu Panda. Go ahead and sign off and let them know with a parting shot what your final thought is for the week.
See you guys Sunday. Remember, play hard. It's going to be hot. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Deuces.
Good stuff. All right, and I am the Tech Jedi signing off. Make sure you guys check out the Min-Max video. Make sure you check out the 10 Beast Plays, which, that's not a typo. Someone asked me, is that supposed to be 10 best plays? No, it's called humor.
Beast mode.
Right, exactly right. 10 Beast Plays. And also I want to give a warm shout out to our primary corporate sponsor, Chick-fil-A at Orange Avenue. They have done so many things. Not only do they help pay for our shirts, which was just fantastic of them through donation, but they also have fed the volunteers and the leaders as well. And we are coming up with ways to involve everyone in the league, including a spirit night, which we'll probably be doing here in the next couple weeks, where just for coming into the Chick-fil-A, you're not paying any extra fees, just buying a regular meal like you normally would. The league itself will get donations from Chick-fil-A so that we're able to improve some of the things that improve some of the things that we really need some help on. Being a nonprofit organization, being in our first season, we are still lacking a lot of things. Good news, by the way, new flags.
Awesome. You have big boy flags?
Got big boy flags.
You got Kung Fu Panda
size 40. I think it was as high as 49.
Nice. Nice.
Yes, indeed. And again, Much thanks to Chick-fil-A's help. They're not just buying an ad spot. They are really, truly feeding into and pouring life into this league. So we really thank them for that. We thank them for sharing the vision for our ministry and for the league itself. And even if you aren't able to make the Spirit Night, just pop on in and grab a meal. But I really want you guys to bring all of your family, all your friends to the Spirit Night when we set it up, because it will go directly back into the league, and you will benefit, your team will benefit, we all will benefit with the stuff that we're able to get, the help we're able to get from Chick-fil-A. So thank you for that. And if you have not heard already, Kirk Cousins, who was drafted by the Washington Redskins, will be here at Discovery Church on Father's Day, speaking from the stage. We are also setting up the Saturday prior Father's Day, in other words, the day just before Father's Day Sunday, that Saturday night. We are working to set up a PXFL league night for a banquet, kind of a dinner with Kirk Cousins, absolutely, who is now in the NFL. Where it's basically just us, like we're featured. It'll be us and all of the SWAT directors all together with Kirk and his father, who is a pastor here at Discovery Church.
That is awesome.
So that would be kind of a neat thing, actually. You know, if for no other reason, the free food is fantastic. But what a great thing to be able to hang out with an NFL player who has a heart for the Lord. It'd be great. All right, y'all be good. This is Tech Jedi signing off. We will see you guys on Sunday for Week 3. See ya.
Later.